Welcome to a look at a new mod map on Farming Simulator 19 with me, MrSealyp. This is HEBDOW. This is a new mod map out on Farming Simulator 19. This is by Tomix. It is 162.54 megabytes to download. Tomix gave us Masuria, which we had 2 days ago, I think, a couple of days ago. You can tell it's the same modder. It's this, unfortunately, is the lighting is very much like Masuria. The shader is a bit dark. The textures and color palette are identical, but the map feels completely different. This is set in southern Poland, and it really does have a completely different feel to it, although the look and style is very similar. So the map itself looks like this. There are a couple of things to note about this. Whilst it does look fairly large, the actual usable map only comes down to about here and across. We've got this little bit here, which if I click on that now, you can buy a couple of these bits, but all of this along here is unusable. You can't get to any of that. You can't get to that. You can't buy this section across the middle here, or this bit up the side, or this forest here in the middle, which was unusual. I thought it was a bit peculiar that, I mean, there's a bit of forestry, there is some about. And then you've got this top section up here you can buy, but then all of this up in this corner you can't. So it's kind of hemmed in a little bit on a few sides. What do you start with though on New Farmer? You start with fields 21, 71, 45, 47 and 55. And this farm area just up here, which is where we're starting from, the slot count is 407 out of 1299 on New Farmer. Field prices are pretty good. They vary. Obviously, we've got some small fields at 31,000 there and 44 up to, I'm trying to think which is one of the larger ones, field 1 I think, at 476. So you can gradually build your way up. One other reason why I said this feels quite different to Masuria is it's much more open fields, not as many fences and hedges. There's no town as such. There's lots of houses dotted around and it makes it feel very natural, but it's not all clustered into one area. If you come onto here on Farm Manager or start from scratch, the slot count goes down from 407 to 313 and it will look a little bit like this. Because when you come onto both of those, Farm Manager and Start from Scratch, you start with all the vehicles, but you don't start with any of the buildings and you don't start with the farmhouse, which is directly behind us. The sleep trigger is just there. There are no custom crops on this map. There are a few mods. We'll have a quick look at those that the map maker has included. There are no animal pens, and you don't start with any animal pens. Unlike Masuria, where you had a couple, you don't start with any animal pens on this one. There's nothing under miscellaneous. Oh, sorry, the gas station. Fuel points. Decoration, we've got an easy shed, farm, storage shelter, brick. I think that's the like causeway bit around where we're sort of stood at the moment. Under silos, we do have the silo that we start with, which is a large grain silo, 200,000 litre capacity, regular crop types, not a multi-fruit silo. And then under sheds, there's nothing because they're under decoration. Then farmhouses, we've just got the farmhouse that's behind us. So there are a few modded bits and bobs. Now, when you come onto Farm Manager or start from scratch at 313 slots, if you sell all of the vehicles as well, you can get that down to 228. Now, you can do that on New Farmer. Here, I can sell all the stuff I've got now and get the slot count right down. Contracts are available. So the main farmyard here, we've got a fuel point just here. We've got some sheds and buildings we can put things in, vehicles, machinery. We'll have a look at what we do actually start with in just a second. Like I say, unfortunately, that shader thing is still a bit of an issue. This barn and building here is also, you can go into, there's no workshop trigger here at the main farm. I haven't been able to, watch this going to work now. No, I haven't been able to get light switches to work. Potentially automatic, but as you can see already, far more open. What I do like about this map as well, and you couldn't tell as much on Masuria, is you can't really tell where the map edge is. It's another one of those ones that's been done really well, that it just kind of goes off into the distance. There doesn't seem to be a defined edge, which I think in some way can catch you out. There's loads of really nice detail. as you'll see as we go around. So what I'm going to do is, actually we'll do the machinery now. So we go to garage, we start with the Massey Ferguson 5610, Fendt Favourite 511C, New Holland TX32 harvester, Farmtech TDK 1600 trailer, header for the TX32, cultivator, seeder, couple of weights, large grain silo, gas station, farm storage shelter, easy shed, the brick bit and the farmhouse. So like I say, on Farm Manager you start with all of this, but on the other two you end there, so you don't have any of this stuff leading on from it. With that being said, let's jump in. I'm going to hook up the weight just to move out of the way. Now, the map is, what's the best way to put it? The layout of the map is interesting. As I've already said, I do like the texture palette. I do like the colour palette used as well. I do like the sweep of the terrain. We're on a kind of ridge line up here. It sweeps over the back from where we are, but it sweeps down into the valley down that way. But the road layout is an interesting one. Loads and loads of houses knocking about, and because you can sell the sleep trigger, you can then place it anywhere you like. But the only drawback I have found is going around the map, seeing all these different places, thinking you could really put your sleep trigger anywhere you want. A lot of these farm areas, the gates don't open, so you can't really kind of use it as a yard per se. I mean, you could still put a sleep trigger in there, but you just can't get vehicles in or out. So I'm going to carry right along this road, and as we go along you can see that it looks like custom sort of crop textures and stuff as well are being used. But again, a very natural feel to it. It has a flow. It's hard to define, to put into words why you get that feel. So we're heading east to the first set of sell points, which is also where the main store is. And I think the livestock market, I think, is out this way. We're out of the east. And I'll show you what I mean on the map about being an interesting or a different layout, which I think, I'll be honest, I think people will find frustrating. Because one thing I was thought initially you could do, you can't. Sounds cryptic, it will make more sense in just a moment. So as we come out of the countryside, I think that's will be another thing that feels different compared to Missouri, is because that was the town or the little village with all the stuff all there in the village. This feels far more open country. It feels like you've got to go a long way to get to a built-up area, if that makes sense. So we cross the main road into this section here. I'll turn the lights on. To my left here we've got the livestock market trigger, that's just there. We've got the grain elevator east sell point just here. We've got our selling station, which is a root crop selling station. I think it might do sugar cane as well. Let's just scroll across. We'll go down to, or up one to selling station. Go across potatoes, sugar beet and sugar cane. Yeah, that's just there. It's just a little bit dark there. Then we've got our main store trigger, so our machinery store. The buy point is just here. Our repair point is just here. And this is also the reset point. If you get anything stuck, have any problems, this is where it resets to. Now, I'll show you what I mean on the map. So we go to the main map, we've come all the way along this road to here. So what I initially did on my quick whiz round to kind of familiarise myself, came down the main road all the way down here, looking for a road that goes across. Now I thought that might be a track or a road, and it's not, unfortunately. Coming this way, there's a little bit of a track that leads off and goes as far as about here, I think. Going this way, this is where the map ends. So we come down to here and there's no road. that takes you across to these sell points here, which means you've got to go back up all the way along the road here the other way, past your farm again, then all the way down to get to these ones, which I think people might find a bit frustrating. So then I thought, well, to be fair, there's this big bit across here, which is all kind of grassland and a few trees and stuff. You could landscape in a road. Problem is, that's the section you can't buy, which is a little bit frustrating. Short of buying all of the fields along the edge and putting a road in along the edge of the fields, that's really frustrating. We are going to go that way because I want to show you it as a kind of feature of the map anyway. You can still drive along it, it's just whether or not you want to make it a little bit more kind of a formalised road, or if you're going for a more realistic approach to your gameplay or that kind of thing. But as we sweep down into the valley, that whole section that you can't buy is, I guess, a floodplain. And when I first drove along, I was thinking, yeah, this is, you know, it feels like a floodplain. When we get further out to the west, that becomes more apparent. It's interesting, over the last week, yeah, about a week, all the maps that we've had have all been fairly small, all with very few sell points. But what I've also found as well, no biogas plants on a lot of them. This one hasn't got one either. No biogas plant on this map, so if you want a biogas plant, you've got to sell it. So we've just bunged a right, and this is the area I'm talking about. So kind of where the two sides of the valley meet at the bottom. It's not the lowest point here exactly, but we'll get further along it. And you can drive along through here. It's just frustrating that you can't buy this plot. With all the grass along here, I think that'd be quite cool. But I guess the point being, they don't want you farming it because it's supposed to be an area that floods, I guess, if you're going to go down that route. But it is another one. I found this with Missouri. I think it's a very picturesque map. It looks good, you know. It is sweeping terrain. There's nothing that seems particularly clunky, or, you know, it doesn't feel forced or false. That's good. So as we get further out to the west, you'll start to see now, as we get into the lower point, we start to get these little marshy areas. You can kind of see the reeds and stuff sticking up out the ground. It's nice touches. It's only very subtle in places. You can just about see the water from certain angles and the reeds. So this is, like I say, definitely the floodplain. So leaving there and getting out onto the road, we're going to head into the southwest corner part of the map to another cluster of sell points. That's where I thought that track would come out, but it only goes about halfway across the map, unfortunately. So, up on the horizon, we're coming up on the grain mill, which is the big building, or the silos you can see, the grain mill sell point. And then we've got the sawmill and spinnery are also up here as well. So we just go past first. We have the grain mill, which is this sell point just here. And if we go around the building on the other side, we've got a few right on top of each other. So we'd have a lime buy point there. We've got our wood chip sell point here. Our lumber sell point is in this hazard marked area just here, with the disc being there. And then over here, in this hazard marked area, is the spinnery. So yeah, 3 right on top of each other, and a buy point for lime. So grain mill, sawmill, spinnery, and lime point. So we've come down the road and all the way along here, then headed up up, or so it felt like up because we went uphill, but down. Southwest corner is where we are at the moment. So what we're going to do now is wing our way all the way up the western side of the map to the barn, and then from there it's a straight shot back across to the main farm area. That's the map. There are no other sell points, but as I've said before, when you get maps like this that don't have many sell points, if you want to add more in, there are plenty of placeable packs. There are sell points on their own. There are all sorts of things available in the mods hub for you to be able to kind of add to a map as you wish. That's not always as easy as it sounds, because some maps don't take too well to placeables, others take to placeables a lot better. But yeah, I don't know. It's for me, it's an interesting one that, as I've said, because we had quite a few small maps that haven't been as complicated. I've kind of got into the habit and got used to a lot of the maps we've had coming out are really complicated to get your head around. When Schamberg came out the other day with all the different sell points and all the stuff, when you get a map like this that has very few, you kind of go around and think, I must have missed something. But there's an elegance to that simplicity, I think. That sounds a bit cheesy, a bit poetic, but I don't know, that's what I think. Oh, that was something I meant to mention. Now it does say it has Seasons Mask, which I'm assuming means it's Seasons Ready. The Seasons Mask normally implies that when you get snow, the stuff that isn't supposed to let snow through doesn't let snow through. But it doesn't mention custom soil map for precision farming, so it would be a standard generic one. So just here we have the barn sell point by those bales, and then this is the road that cuts right across the map and takes us back to the main farm. And that's the map. That's HEBDOW. As I said earlier, there aren't many fences or hedges and stuff in the way, so the ability to plough these fields together and make larger ones is more than doable if you wanted to do that. But there, I hope you found this useful and informative in some way, shape or form. If you have, give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share this video, then please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.